Hi guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. So today I want to talk about getting off medication if that is something that you are desiring to do, because I went for many years on medication and it could have been that I needed it at the time. I'm not going to say that like all medication is bad and like no one should be on it, but I'm talking about if you truly desire to heal the root cause, because I think that that is missing a lot in like modern psychiatry or psychology, especially in the Western sense, is like, what is the root here? And a lot of the times the root is not something that you're going to get to through talking, like through talk therapy. So I want to back up and start at the beginning when I first got on medication. So when I was like 13, I just turned into this like angsty teen. I had a really stable family life, so I can't blame it on my parents. Was very loved. I had just like a lot of stability. But for some reason, there was just like something inside of me that was like restless, and I just started to be just really moody and like all this stuff. And my mom like did not know how to handle it. So she took me to a therapist or a psychiatrist, and I like would not have any of it. I was so resistant, and I don't think that I got on medication at that time because I flat out refused. I was like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. Well, then fast forward to college, my freshman year of college, I really had a hard time acclimating to college. I don't think that I was prepared emotionally for the changes. I kind of like skated through high school. It was really easy. And then getting to college, it was just like, there was classes that were hard for me. And then just like the social bit, because I had some friends in high school that kind of like backstabbed me, betrayed me. I also had some good friends, but I also had some like toxic relationships. So like getting to college and like making friends, I was able to make friends. But where I went to school, we had like a first semester rush, and I had never even thought about being in a sorority before. It was like not on my radar. But it's like what my other friends were doing was like rushing. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I had no clue how to play like the social game, right? I really didn't know how to like be like a girl's girl. So I didn't get a bid from the sorority that all my friends did. And that really hurt. And I think that I already had kind of a defense mechanism put up from high school. And so when that happened, it just like, I put up another wall, right? Of just like, I don't need anybody, I'm fine, and all this stuff, and just like not really feeling my emotions. And then there was, of course, like dating and guys, and I gained weight. I think like a lot of people gain like freshman 15 just due to like stress. And I did. And my identity had been so much around like my body and being fit and all this stuff that threw me for a tailspin. I felt so out of control. And that's when my eating disorder started, because I wanted to feel like a sense of control. And because I felt so out of control, it's like an eating disorder is never about your body, really. It's really not about your body image. It's about control. So when that happened, and one thing that I will say about myself is like, I've always been the one to like ask for help. Like I will ask for help. If I know that something is wrong, like I'm okay, like asking for help. So I went to like the counselor like in college, and I was like, hey, like I have a problem. And she was great, and like we talked through stuff, but she referred me to a psychiatrist, and I went to the psychiatrist and she put me on Prozac medication for depression. And I think that at the time I kind of thought that it was like a silver bullet, right? Like, oh, this is gonna help me. All I really like was told or taught was like, your brain chemicals are messed up, and being bulimic like messes with your brain chemicals as well, like messes with a lot of systems in your body. But I was like, oh, like this is going to fix me. And I think that that's where a lot of us are wrong, or like just maybe have like the wrong idea about medication that it's going to fix something. And while it can certainly provide like a level of stabilization, it's not going to fix anything. You have to get to like the actual root. And the root is typically not going to be found in talk therapy. It's going to be on a deeper, like somatic level, like in the body. And typically it's like we don't feel safe. So anything else like depression, anxiety, and eating disorder is a symptom of a deeper problem. And what took me many years to realize is that the deeper problem was not being able to sit with myself and really sit with myself, understand myself, stop looking around me for external validation, stop looking at what other people are doing, like really being solid in myself, and also being fully accepting of the present moment. Because things like anxiety, depression, those things are just because you cannot accept the current moment as it is. So your body has a reaction because you're worried about the future, or you're worried about other people, or you're worried about situations that are outside of your control. And so when I learned how to really like slow the fuck down, in fact, stop. And that's another thing that like we're not taught to do, is to slow down or stop. It's always like go, 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 do more, when actually the solution 9 times out of 10 is you're moving too fast. You need to stop. You need to stop moving. You need to understand how to slow the fuck down. So, okay, so that was in college. And then I went on to, after college, so I was like still on medication, still had my eating disorder. Nothing was changing. In fact, I was getting worse. So it was like my early 20s, after I graduated from college, I saw another therapist. I saw multiple therapists, and I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. Come to find out years later that it was a misdiagnosis. So I was on medication for something that I didn't have, which totally scrambled my fucking brains, you guys. It made me feel insane. I thought I felt crazy before. It made me feel so crazy. And on top of that, I asked my therapist to put me on ADHD medication because I had such a lack of motivation. Because I was like, I didn't have tools, I didn't know how to like do anything, like live my life. And I was just like in a really low spot. And I was like, oh, I'm sure that, Adderall will help me. And this lady just like gave it to me. And again, years later, I actually took a test. I do not have ADHD. So I'm on like this cocktail of medications that were not necessary and were not good for me. And it really made me feel just more disconnected to myself. It was actually really hard to disconnect myself because my thoughts were racing like a million miles a minute all the time. All I knew at that point was that I felt like shit. I felt terrible. And I was like, if I feel like this on medication, I can't even imagine how I'd feel without it. So I became totally dependent without realizing that I think the medication was doing a lot more harm than it was good. So finally, I came to the conclusion, I was like, this isn't working. This isn't working. And I want to get off medication. And I think that was like one of the bravest things that I could do, was to say like, it can't be worse than this. And me being on medication feels so terrible. Like it can't be worse to be off of medication. So I like titrated off my medication, And I think around that point was like when I like hit my rock bottom, okay? Like my rock bottom where I was just like, fuck this. Nothing is working in my life. I hated my job. It was a dumb bullshit job. I was not getting paid anything. I didn't like the work. I didn't like the people I was working with. I wanted to move. I was living in Austin. A lot of my friends had left. I lived close to my family, which was great. I mean, I love my family, but I also felt like I just wanted to I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to be further away. I wanted to experience something else, right? So I moved states, and I still had like this eating disorder. It was awful, but I was like not on medication. I had like just committed to myself, like I'm gonna fucking figure this out. And what actually really helped me was when I started seeing an Eastern medicine therapist who taught me meditation. And that was the first time that I ever truly sat with myself, right? When I truly learned how to be with myself and be with my thoughts and not stop or not try to fix everything. Not only was I trying to fix all these things because I wasn't happy, but I had all these like really awful coping mechanisms to like, as I was trying to like fix, I never really got to the root. And the root was that I didn't know myself. I didn't know myself. I didn't really know my values. I didn't really know, like, understand my past traumas, how they were still like perpetuating in my life. I was just like, oh yeah, shit happened and whatever. Like, and some really fucked up things happened to me. And that's a story for another day. But like capital T trauma that I just like brushed under the rug and was just like, oh, whatever. Like, again, that defense mechanism, that wall, that barrier, that I'm stronger than that, and just all that shit, right? Of thinking that like I'm tougher than thousands and millions of years of like the protection mechanisms that are in our body, right? So I was stunted. I was like emotionally stunted because I hadn't healed these like things at the core, at my root. And I couldn't even see them. I was so wrapped up in my own shit that I couldn't even see them. And so that's why I say like meditation changed my life. Working with this doctor, this therapist who didn't want to give me medication changed my life. And I think like really like standing up for myself and being like, this stuff is not working. Like this like traditional thing of like what we're taught is the solution. It just, and again, like I know like for some people, like it definitely is needed. It helps. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, if you also want to do the deep healing work that is at the root and is causing these things as symptoms, then it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of like overcoming the fear of looking at what's underneath, right? Like really processing like what's underneath instead of just saying like, oh, well, that's just how it is. And I'm just always going to be this way, and kind of like giving up. It's really like taking your power back and taking a really like active role in creating the person that you want to be. Well, if you want to do that, you need to get rid of, I'm going to say like get rid of, I mean, she never really goes away, obviously, but evolve past old versions of ourselves, right? Heal what needs to be healed. Understand like what our inner voice is telling us, is guiding us. Our higher self, our inner self is always trying to protect us and to guide us. But again, like if we have so much noise going on in our head, if our thoughts are just constantly racing, we cannot hear our intuition. We cannot hear our higher voice, our higher self. And that is what this work did for me, right? It's like fully accepting like the reality of my situation, how I got there, taking accountability and responsibility. And while I totally like agree with like radical self-acceptance or like responsibility, I mean, there's also just like things that happen, right? Like there's just situations that happen to you that are out of your control. So forgiveness of self, forgiveness of other people who hurt you, and just, yeah, like committing again and again and again to your growth, to your evolution, to wanting to heal these parts of you. And when I later, like this was probably like 4 years ago or something, I started having panic attacks. And while I was driving, which was like the scariest thing ever, it literally feels like you're going to die at any moment. Like the way, like your body has a reaction that you would have if a tiger was like attacking you. Like it literally feels like you're going to die. It's the scariest thing ever. Plus I'm like behind the wheel of like a 2-ton hunk of metal going like 80 miles down the highway. It's literally the scariest thing ever. And I obviously like immediately like went to my doctor, and I really appreciated my doctor's like, let's get you into biofeedback, right? So like, let's understand what's happening like on like at your body's level. So I went in, and it was funny because like they put all the like things on you, the sensors and stuff, and they have you listen to like a guided meditation. And they were like, wow, like your levels are like so even. And I was like, yeah, well, I've been meditating for a long time. So that was interesting because I was like, that's not the problem. Like what is the problem? And I think that what I wanted to do was like pinpoint something. I wanted to be like, that's it. That's the problem. Okay, let's heal it. And actually, when it comes to like panic attacks, it's not one thing. It's more like a lot of stressors kind of build and build and build. And it's like a boiling like tea kettle or something, right? And then at some point, it just like overflows. It just like explodes. So I, again, had to take a look at like, okay, what are the things that I'm like not accepting, that I'm not addressing, and work to heal those. And at that time, I actually did get a prescription for Xanax that I only took like a baby one if I was like going to be driving and I was scared. But I was like resistant. I was like, I don't want to like get back on anything. So anyways, another thing that I want to touch on, because I feel like, okay, so like smoking. I used to smoke a lot of weed, and I had from like a very young age. Like I think I started smoking when I was like 13, and it was interesting because again, it's like a coping mechanism, right? It's like, okay, like what are you actually trying to achieve here? Yeah, it can be fun if you're with your friends, but actually it always kind of gave me like a low grade anxiety. So I was like, I don't even know, like what, I would just like get really quiet and like not really say anything. And of course, if I was like in certain other situations, watching a funny movie, whatever, like, you know, I could have a good time. But it totally turned into like a crutch later in life, like a way to avoid reality. Right. And so like, I always suggest and recommend that if you are smoking a lot, and of course, like with drinking as well, but like if you are trying to alter your current situation, if you are not happy with your life as it is right now, can you be in this present moment and be actually happy? Like take a closer look at that. And like, why are you actually choosing to use like substances? And again, like no judgment, but I know people that feel like it's not actually doing anything for them anymore. And like but it's like such a habit, and it's just like something that they have this relationship with, and sometimes even a dependence, right? And I was that same way. I was like, no. And again, I want to go back to that like defiance part of me, that like rebellious part of me, that angsty part of me that was carried along throughout this whole journey, and being like, oh, like, this is helping me, and then like getting honest with myself, like, is this fucking helping me? So whenever I was like having those panic attacks, I remember like smoking one day by myself, like in my room, immediately like falling onto the floor crying. Like that's how quickly it hit me, and I was just like, fuck this fucking sucks. I'm not doing that. And yeah, so I mean, I feel like taking a look at like the real reason, what are we trying to accomplish with what these things, like what's the benefit, truly, what's the benefit, right? And then being like, am I okay being alone? Am I being okay with my thoughts? Am I okay like taking responsibility for like where I'm at and what's going on, without trying to find other things that are going to help me, that are going to change my reality? It's like, it truly is just like an avoidance of reality. And I remember at the time too thinking like, oh no, it makes reality even better. It like makes things like more fun. And like, yeah, that's true. But also if you're using it to cope, to mask something else, then like take a look at that, because you're just delaying like the true healing, right? And like the way that I see like smoking now is more like plant medicine, right? It's like something that I do if I want to like get into a creative zone, or like dance and move my body and like be in my body. But it's not because I'm trying to numb out. It's not because I'm trying to avoid like reality, right? So that being said, one of my biggest like personal wins is being able to go through that cycle of being on medication and being able to get myself off of it by doing like the inner work, right? And like knowing that these tools are there, and knowing that like what it really comes down to in terms of like feeling safe in our body and accepting like reality for what it is, right? And like just not being so caught up in the what ifs or in the past or other people are thinking of us and all this stuff, and like just being so solid in yourself, being so certain of like who you are at your core, at a soul level, is going to bring you so much peace, like so much inner peace. And when you have that level of inner peace, the things like depression, the things like anxiety, the things like panic attacks, they're like just not gonna come in. They're just not gonna have a place to land. And again, I know there's like, you know, like what's the term for like severe depressive like disorder? Like I know that's a thing. I know that there's like some things that just truly need like medication, but I also want to say like if you are also interested in like doing the work, into doing the healing, into understanding like how your brain works, how you are actually creating these situations again and again and again and again, it's like, I mean, like a hamster wheel. I felt like I was like on a hamster wheel for years. And then like really understanding like why the fuck I was staying there, like what was actually going on. It's not random. It's not like I was just like cursed, you know, like there's a reason. And are you willing to do like the digging, right? Are you willing to like shine a light on your shadows? Are you willing to like heal that stuff that is making those things a symptom? And instead of looking for like, you know, a silver bullet to like heal you, fix you, bring you to like a level like that needs to happen from the inside out. So, okay, that's it for today. Bye guys.